They distort. We dissect. They distract. We investigate. Japan Journal with Mal Adams. Facts. Courage. No apologies. Reverend Brother Malcolm was in Lexington, Kentucky on the occasion of this interview, attending and covering the closing session of the 150th Annual Conference of the A.M.E. Church, 13th Episcopal District of Kentucky and Tennessee. He was a special guest of the Reverend William Hale, Jr., Conference Secretary. Brother Malcolm was privileged to have as a special guest on the Japan Journal program the distinguished officiant of the conference, Bishop Jeffrey Leath, who discussed a variety of issues, including this year's theme, God's People Pursuing Criminal Justice. Please enjoy this exclusive, unedited interview on Japan Journal and feel free to share your thoughts herein. Thank you. Reverend Brother Malcolm W. Adams, Minister, Universal Life Church.
Bishop Leath, it's a pleasure to be with you, sir. I thank you for the opportunity to talk to you. This is for my online broadcast called Japan Journal, which you can see on my YouTube channel and on other social media, Facebook and others. Congratulations on the successful completion of your 150th session of the Kentucky Annual Conference of the AME Church, sir. I enjoyed the experience. It's been a long time as one who has grown up in the AME tradition, although I studied Buddhism in Japan for many years. But at the end of the day, we're showing respect and seeking the blessings of one God. It's my opinion. Thank you very much, sir. For the uninitiated, tell me about the annual conference, the theme of which was God's People Pursuing Criminal Justice. How did you come up with that theme? And generals, do you speak about the purpose of the annual conference, if you will?
Sure. The African Episcopal Church was founded in 1816 in Philadelphia. It was founded by Richard Allen, who was an emancipated slave.
Yes.
And it was made up of free and enslaved blacks in the United States 200 years ago. In Kentucky and in Tennessee, there were congregations that were formed, many of which did not take full flourishing until after the end of the Civil War in the 1860s. Mm-hmm. The Kentucky Annual Conference is 150 years old. It is a time where clergy gather to report their labors and where lay people and clergy together make decisions about the life of the church in the Commonwealth of Kentucky for the African Methodist Episcopal Church. We are just a small part of a denomination that reaches across the continental United States as well as Alaska and many parts on the continent of Africa and in the Caribbean and a couple of congregations in Europe. So this is something that happens in our church in various places all over the world, but this is our 150th time.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
I enjoyed it. A bit about the theme, God's People Pursuing Criminal Justice, and the subtitle,
Yes.
A Christian Sexual Ethic, Issues in Interpersonal Relationships. Sounds like
Surely.
current affairs you're dealing with.
Our denomination's 4-year theme deals with pursuing social justice, and each year has a different theme. This year's theme focuses on criminal justice. So we are concerned about various aspects of criminal justice from the perspective of fair enforcement of the law and the assessment of penalties. We're concerned about mass incarceration. We're concerned about the victims of crime and how they are dealt with and efforts for reparations as it relates to those who have been victimized by crime. In addition to looking at and pursuing issues of criminal justice, we're also looking at issues of sexual gender issues. And that is a part of our 4-year theme here in Kentucky as well as in Tennessee. interpersonal relationships. Many of us, we look on people and we assign these roles of gender without recognizing that people are basically human beings. And while gender issues are important, we have to see people beyond these designations that we socially apply and recognize the humanity of people regardless of their gender designations and how they seek to live their lives and be fulfilled in terms of their gender identities.
I cannot express it as nicely and succinctly as you did in reference to one first minding one's own business. How would you phrase that for me, how you put it, the message hit home?
Sure, I think that Christians are to be witnesses, and we are to take our values, our beliefs, our customs, and we are to live them before people so that as people see them, they adopt and they are invited. It is not our place in the world to impose our morality on other people. And even within the Christian family, we don't agree on everything. Clearly, gender is an area where there's much disagreement among Christians. The lesson today coming from Romans reminds us that people see truth differently, and they relate to God in such a way that one person may eat meat and another may be a vegetarian. Which is the right way? Well, the text does not tell us the right way, except that the right way is that which you are convicted by your conscience through your relationship with God. And so as Christians, we have to learn to live and allow to live. We have to live according to our personal moral convictions. We don't have to compromise our morality, but we also don't have to impose our morality on others and make our standard the standard that others must live and must walk. But every person must relate to God and must be governed by their relationship and their conscience with God.
How does that manifest itself with regard to the understanding about the need for being forgiving one to another?
It's inevitable that people are going to suffer injury and hurt in life. People do things intentionally, unintentionally, where there is injury. And we are called upon not to so focus on the injuries that others inflict on our lives, but as we see others as brothers and sisters who, like us, make mistakes and do err, we must be forgiving. God has forgiven us because we are God's children. We are forgiven. And if we are forgiven, it is incumbent upon us to forgive those who may wrong us.
All right. Thank you very much. A couple of more questions, sir. In terms of the history of the AME Church, as I mentioned, my grandfather was presiding elder in the 5th Episcopal District out of Nebraska, and I grew up in this tradition, and I was very interested. I am here because of my relationship with a friend of Pastor Hale's, and I'll be doing an international assisting as an officiant of an international wedding between a Japanese and American, and I'm privileged to have been invited to do that. But what I found really interesting was that I was going to be here in time to attend this session today to bear witness to my brother, Pastor Hale, who's a Caucasian brother, in the AME Church, a traditional African Methodist Episcopal Church. How unique is that? Because I will interview him later, and I'd like to hear your spin and your comments on his role and his father's role before him and his brother's role in this African American tradition.
Sure. Well, the Reverend William Hale's father, the Reverend Frederick Hale, was quite an advocate for civil rights back in the 60s. And we have proof of his marching and standing up for justice. At that point, many, many years ago, he was one of very few Caucasian pastors in the denomination, which difficult as one can imagine. But not only he, but 2 of his sons are clergy now in the African Methodist Episcopal Church. They, to me, are the opportunity for us to live out the gospel, to show that we are truly made of one blood.
Indeed.
They join in the struggle side by side for racial justice, and we stand with them side by side and affirm their humanity. And they're just a welcome, vital part of our ministry here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And it shows that we live up to our motto that all humanity is God's family. And even though our name says we are African Methodist Episcopal, and we take our roots from those of African American, and then in later years of African, direct African, not only descent but current Africans living on the continent,
Yes.
As well as in the diaspora. And
That's been a long-standing tradition, though, as I understand from the AME tradition, always giving support to the motherland whenever possible, right?
Absolutely. We've not denied our roots
No.
on the continent of Africa, but we also recognize that God has made us all in one blood.
Interesting that in the naming of the denomination, as Richard Allen departed from the Methodist Church, they obtained the name African in recognition to make it clear that this was an African-rooted denomination. Is that correct?
Absolutely. In the late 1700s and the early 1800s, to refer to people of African descent as Africans was common.
Yes.
And as a result, the name was taken up, and it has not been denied. We are unashamedly African.
Maintained and have been for several years.
Absolutely.
We subsequently became colored with the advent in 1908 or 1910 of the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, as a device to kind of wean ourselves from the motherland, but we came back to our roots. But the church never changed. That AME title has been consistent.
Our denomination has not changed for 200 years.
Interesting. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Wish you continued success, and I hope we meet again, and I hope to be able to participate.
Well, we've been honored by your presence all the way from Japan, and
Yes, sir.
We pray that God will bless your travels.
Indeed, and same to you, sir. Thank you very much for your time. It's a pleasure. Yeah. Hey, brother. I got Mr. My cameraman. I didn't tell you I wanted you to hold the camera there.
Sorry, I had to change the time.
I know you did. I'm joking, man.
I got to change that.